I, 27-year-old female, was telling my boyfriend, 26-year-old male, about my travel schedule for work. I will be gone from October 9th to October 21st. I previously invited him to the tail end of this trip in NYC, but when I was showing him my schedule, he decided to invite himself to the PA portion of this trip, October 13th to October 17th, in addition to the previously agreed upon October 18th to October 21st in NYC. I was trying to express my hesitancy at him being there for the entire time, and I was trying to put it as nicely as possible that I don't want to have him there for that entire time. I didn't put it well and let slip that I would have to do a second shift once I got back from my actual work because I'd have to monitor him. He got mad and said that he doesn't care about me, but about the hotel and visiting Philly. I tried to tell him that I'm not even going to be in Philly for that portion of the trip, and that it's not going to be fun, cooped up in a random hotel until I get back. He says I'll have 8 hours not working, so what's the problem? I offered for him to go on another portion of the trip that's actually in Philly, but the damage was already done because he knows how I feel about him being there. Now he's upset and says he doesn't want to go at all because I'm a horrible person who wants 5 nights in a hotel by themselves, which apparently means XYZ different things. Full disclosure, he is a lot to deal with. He needs a lot of emotional maintenance at all times and gets upset very easily. I honestly just didn't want to deal with him while I was on the road, and only invited him to stay the last part of the trip because it was a perfect opportunity for him to finally see the Knicks for the first time in years. So am I the idiot? I definitely could have couched things better to not be such an ass. Advice, please, if there's a good way to say, I don't want you around. But am I truly the here? Because I'm pretty sure it's not normal to have your significant other with you for your whole business trip. Edit. I'm also pretty sure he's jealous of my job because I go to work and do a good job. He's mentioned it multiple times recently because he's upset that I'm dependable as an employee, but I forget to do things around the house. I have really bad ADHD that he refuses to acknowledge the symptoms of even though I've been diagnosed properly. Now, here are the comments. Comment 1. Hard. Not the idiot. This is your career. Your employer is paying for you to stay in a hotel and to travel for their own business purposes. Not so your boyfriend can have a free hotel room and so he can tag along. Your boundary was very reasonable. You know better than anyone which parts of the trip will have more expectations. You will have more commitments, etc. versus time to play tourist. If your boyfriend can't understand professional travel versus pleasure travel, then he is not ready to tag along. Honestly, tell him he is uninvited from the whole trip. Until he grows up and understands what professionalism means, it is not worth having him along. He should be focused on his own career right now, instead of playing. You inviting him to the NY portion was more than generous. As for the 5 nights by yourself in a hotel, the answer is working. You will be working, sleeping, and getting caught up on emails. There won't be time for shenanigans with him. Comment 2. Not the idiot. People who don't do business trips don't understand business trips. My mother didn't understand if I was in a city why I wouldn't make the time to see a cousin who lived an hour away, or visit their famous sites. Here's how a business trip day goes for most people. Get up. Didn't sleep much because it's not home. Get going to first appointment. Do all the appointments as well as you can. Skip lunch because it ran long. Finish day. Eat with colleagues and discuss following day's appointments. Go to room. Log in and deal with all the emails that happened back at the main office. Finish around 10. Go to bed. Repeat until you go home. You flat out don't have time to entertain anybody, or see relatives, or gawk at the Rocky statue. You work. That's why they are called business trips. Comment 3. Not the idiot. The way you said it was a little shitty, but also, you should be able to say, I want to do this part of this trip alone, and that should be respected. I have a hard time blaming you for how you said it, although it was a bit insensitive. People in partnerships deserve time alone, especially in regards to work. Stand your ground. Now, for the next story. My 56-year-old daughter, 21-year-old, was home from college for a short break, and we were looking forward to spending time together. Last year, the local historical society hosted an afternoon tea at one of the members' house, which is from the 1800s, and I attended and really enjoyed it. We were allowed to tour the house, which was what I really enjoyed. They'd hired a catering service to make the tea and food that went along with it, finger sandwiches, custard tarts, etc. My daughter expressed interest in seeing the house and attending the tea with me, and this year it happened to fall on when she was home on break. I asked her if she still wanted to go, and she said yes. She is a very picky eater, always has been, despite my best efforts, so I warned her that they might not serve anything she wanted to eat at the tea. She said that was okay, and she'd eat something before we left, which she did. We got to the house and did the tour. She absolutely loved it and took a genuine interest in hearing about the restoration efforts and the history of the house. When it came time for tea, she politely refused any tea that was offered and simply drank her water. She took a few bites of one of the sandwiches, but it wasn't to her taste, so she simply set it down. She was incredibly polite and didn't raise a fuss over the food at all. She complimented the caterers on their hard work and held conversation with the other women at the table. When the lunch was over, she excused herself to go to the bathroom, and one of the women sitting nearby, in her 60s, part of the Historical Society Committee, said it was rude of me to invite my daughter and her not eat anything. Another woman agreed and asked why I even brought her to the tea if she wasn't going to drink any. I explained that she had wanted to see the house, and it was a way for us to spend time together. But now I'm wondering if I had been wrong to bring her. I am not upset with my daughter at all. I'm just wondering if I should have found something else to do with her while she was home instead that wouldn't have upset so many people. Now, for the next story. One of my 26-year-old female friends, Sarah, has recently started seeing a guy she met through work, and I didn't want to meet or spend time with him. Sarah started in a new job about a year ago, and the entire environment always sounded toxic. Early on, there was a bet between a number of the men in her workplace over who would have sex with her first. At some point, we started to hear about a guy she worked with, Jake. He was really friendly with her, flirty, and would go out of his way to have long conversations with her. If we ever asked about him, she'd just reply that he has a girlfriend 10 years plus. He apparently didn't tell her this. She heard this through colleagues and had to ask him. As the months went by, we started to hear stories about people in her workplace talking about Sarah and Jake, how close they were, and how close they would be on work nights out. One of Jake's friends even dragged him back into the pub one night to stop him getting in a taxi with Sarah. This all annoyed Sarah, especially when she heard that this had all gotten back to Jake's girlfriend, who was upset. She insisted they were just really good friends. Eventually, Sarah told us that she had sex with Jake a couple of months back. She said that it was a one-time thing, and she told him soon after that it was over. This worked until Jake broke up with his girlfriend a couple of weeks later and told Sarah immediately that he was ready whenever she was. I practically begged her not to go there, aside from Jake pursuing her and sleeping with her while he was in this 10-year relationship. She knows he has cheated before, and it's almost certainly not going to be a good relationship. Sarah is now with Jake. When she told me, I told her I don't like him. I think she's worth way more than this guy, but she's a big girl, and I'm here for her. Except that I really do not want to meet or spend time with him right now. I think he's selfish and immature and hasn't done anything to prove the opposite. I think what they did is really awful, and I feel so bad for the poor girl caught in the middle. I really feel so uncomfortable when he comes up in conversation. I just immediately shut down. I ran into them accidentally a couple of days ago, and she introduced me to him. I wasn't very friendly, but I said hello and shook his hand when he went to shake mine, and then I left. Soon after, she came to me in tears, upset because it was cold and they could tell I didn't want to shake his hand. I told her I was sorry, but that being civil was the most I could manage right now. I feel awful about it. She's happy right now. She really likes this guy, and she sees him in a completely different light to me. What broke my heart is she told another friend that she's sad because no one is excited for her. At the same time, I feel really uncomfortable around this guy, and I feel like meeting and being friends with him is co-signing an unhealthy relationship. Am I the idiot? Now for the next story. Backstory. My cousin, 19-year-old male, and stepmom, 38-year-old female, have been in a relationship behind my dad's back for a few months now. 8 months ago, my dad and stepmom took my cousin in to live with us. About 4 months in, we moved into a new house. Ever since, my stepmom and cousin have been growing closer under the guise of being friends. My dad recently found out after having months of a gut feeling, and through my uncle, who told him things my cousin had drunkenly admitted to him. My dad will be presenting my stepmom with a divorce, and my cousin has been kicked out. They've both been exposed to the family, and my dad hopes that word spreads to people who haven't been told. I can't help but feel that it isn't enough. I want to post screenshots of my stepmom and cousin's social media accounts and their texts online. I haven't said a word to my dad about it, but it's been on my mind. Should I? Update. I won't be posting anything. Thanks everyone for the advice. Now here are the comments. You're going to hurt your dad a great deal if you post these screenshots online before telling him. Like everything else on the internet, it's going to be there forever. You need to tell your dad this first. Family business should not be aired out for all to see. People thrive on that poop. Don't do that. It's immature, and it hurts more than it helps. You would be the idiot if you post screenshots online. You would be the idiot if you don't tell your dad first. He needs to know who his wife really is. Comment 3. You're the idiot, YTA. I'm side-eyeing the attitude towards your cousin a bit. How old was he when this affair started? Has anyone looked into whether or not your stepmother groomed him? That age difference is concerning, and your stepmother was in a position of authority over a young adult in her home. If the genders were flipped, would you still have this attitude? Now, for the next story. My husband and I would like to know if we are the jerks in the following situation, and what folks would suggest. Our son, Kevin, is 20 years old. He has been dating his girlfriend, Jenny, for about a year now. There is a lot of friction in the family because we do not like her. She overall brings nothing to the table. She is boring and has a very passive personality. She does not offer to help and stays over at our house a lot. Example, I was making multiple trips to the car to bring in groceries, walking by her, and she was fixing her hair in the dining room mirror, and not once did she offer to help. We try to ask her questions about herself, and getting answers is like pulling teeth. She never asks us about anything or initiates conversations. Doesn't offer to help clean up after dinner, etc. You get the picture. She doesn't get involved or engage and just kind of exists in the background. We think of her like an NPC, lol. We are sick of watching Kevin dote on her, and he is sacrificing his relationships with his friends to be with her more. We recently found out that she was stalking his every movement while he was visiting his mom and friends in another state, where we used to live. His friends contacted us actually out of concern with how controlling Jenny's behavior seemed in terms of monitoring. One of his older friends, Olivia, is a girl, and Kevin lied to Jenny about hanging out with Olivia in a purely platonic setting. Here's the thing. I generally believe in letting people make their own mistakes and dating whoever they want. The problem with Kevin is we have been right so far about our gut feeling for every awful girlfriend he has had in the past. He never would listen to us while in the relationship. And then in hindsight, once the relationship is over, he admits that we were right. We think we are right again this time, and so does the extended family, at least 5 people beyond me and my husband, and his 3 best friends. Are we the jerks for telling him what we truly think? We have been somewhat honest so far, but held back the full spectrum of our true opinion. The reason for doing so is 1, we don't really like her or want her around, and 2, he has started to talk about how she might be the one. She is definitely not the one. Their relationship seems very codependent, and because of that, at its core, unhealthy. Or should we move forward being fake with our own and only son, and pretend we like her when we don't? Now, here are the comments. Comment 1. You're the idiot. You sound extremely immature saying she's boring and passive. It makes me think you have some emotional health issues. She doesn't have to help with your groceries. Your expectations are weird, and it sounds like you're just trying to justify some other reason you don't like her. You can talk to your son and let him know that the controlling behavior is controlling. But other than that, stay out of it. I really suspect your son is making bad choices, according to you, in the girls he dates because he grew up with at least one emotionally dysfunctional parent. Comment 2. Your son's girlfriend has no obligations to help you with household things, like getting groceries from the car or doing dishes. You could ask her if she'd like to help, but her answer is also be allowed to be no. It's probably a family culture difference. Also, let your son make his own mistakes if this relationship turns out to be one. How come you find her boring? Have you ever had a real conversation with the girl to get to know her? Comment 3. Has he asked you for your opinion? If so, not the idiot for offering your opinion when asked. Have you said, "We'd like to talk to you about your GF. Are you open to that?" Or are you planning to simply unload on him without warning? If so, you're the idiot. You do not have to pretend to like her. If he ever asks, "Why don't you like her?" you can answer honestly. And if he doesn't like that, too bad, he asked. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.